Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the updated AP poll here for college basketball. Kind of a new little feature I'm doing. I do the AP poll for college football, and I thought, with March Madness right around the corner, let's start paying attention to some of these teams. Let's understand which teams we should be picking in March Madness. So just giving an update on this poll, you do have UConn sitting at 18-2. UConn had a dominant win yesterday. The defending national champs, they are the number one overall team. Purdue, they got 14 first place votes. A lot of people think Purdue or Houston, at least if you look at the analytics, is actually the number one team. North Carolina coming in at number 3. What a run they've been on. Houston, unbelievable elite defense. One of the most historically elite defenses we've seen, at least when you compare them to other teams. The margins are ridiculous with Houston right now. Tennessee at number 5, and there's Wisconsin up 7 spots to number 6. I'm trying to do a better job in terms of reevaluating my opinions on teams, because I do think Wisconsin is a fraud, but I don't know, man. I mean, right now they're a 2 seed. They're 16-4 in Big Ten play. To me, you're talking about a 2v15 game. I could see them losing outright, honestly, to a 15 seed. But let's give Wisconsin a chance. Let's see, they've been really good. Although the Big Ten, it's not the best. It's not terrible, but I don't know. There's a lot of mid teams in the Big Ten this year. You do have Duke as the number 7 overall team, sitting at 15-4. They started the year at number 2. They've got a very deep, elite talent team. We will see Syracuse down 1 spot. Marquette charging back up, trying to get back to that 2 line. They are at number 9 in terms of the rankings. And then Kentucky down to number 10. Big defensive problems for Kentucky. I think Kentucky's a Sweet 16 team because of their offense, but I don't think they're going to be able to get past the defensive issues. Moving on to number 11, it is Arizona. So Arizona's been very wobbly. They've lost a few games in Pac-12 play, but they are still 15-5. We remember they had the crazy upset loss back last year. You do have Iowa State up 11 spots. Amazing team at home. I would caution people with Iowa State, if they do end as a 3 seed going into the tournament, they are not a great team on the road. They will not be playing at their home arena at all during the tournament. I would be concerned about them possibly missing the Sweet 16 as a 3 seed, just based off the fact that it seems like they only play well at home. Creighton, the number 13 team, coming in at 16-5, up 4 spots. Illinois down 4 spots at 15-5. Texas Tech 16-3 in the Big 12. I mean, their schedule's going to get a lot tougher, but up 5 spots, it's respectable. You do have Auburn down 8 spots. Yeah, Auburn's a really interesting profile. They can't get any quad 1 wins, but the analytics still love them. Utah State 18-2. In the Mountain West. We know the narrative surrounding the Mountain West this year. Such a good conference. Baylor down 3 spots at 14-5. They'll be a team I'm not going to say I'm going to pick to go to the Sweet 16. We'll see. New Mexico at 18-3. Florida Atlantic at 17-4. I think they're going to lose in the first round, Florida Atlantic. They're just too inconsistent. Dayton suffers a tough loss. They move down 5 spots, but they're still ranked at 21. BYU at 22. Oklahoma, this is exactly what I thought was going to happen. Oklahoma, I've been saying they're a fraud. I think they missed the tournament outright. It's a sad story, but the Big 12, it's a tough conference. They're down 12 spots and falling fast. Alabama finally gets ranked after starting the season what were they, 5-5 or something? They had a really tough non-conference. They've been dominant in SEC play, explosive offense. I'd expect Bama to probably finish on the 4 line in terms of seeding. And then you do have TCU coming in at number 25. The other teams receiving votes. South Carolina, really good record. They are in the SEC, not a great conference this year. San Diego State, Memphis. I'm surprised Memphis is not ranked. Northwestern getting some votes. They had a blowout win over the weekend. Ole Miss. I said my 2 frauds were Oklahoma and Ole Miss, and it's working out perfectly for me. Texas receiving some votes. Colorado State, St. Mary's. Indiana State is a team that I love going into the tournament. I mean, we'll see how they continue to play. Boise State getting some votes. Richmond gets a few votes. Gonzaga, Virginia, McNeese, and then Appalachian State gets a little bit of a shout out. But let's take a look at the actual analytics. You can see Houston as the number 1 overall team. the crazy elite defense. They have the number 1 adjusted defensive efficiency, the number 17 offensive efficiency. They are the number 1 overall team. Purdue coming in at number 2. Auburn at number 3, I really can't defend that. It is just analytics, it's whatever, but Auburn cannot, they really struggle whenever they face an elite opponent. I don't think I'm going to pick Auburn to go to the Sweet 16. I guess it depends on their bracket. UConn at number 4, I'm going to be against UConn. I'm still going to pick them to at least make the Sweet 16, maybe the Elite 8. But in terms of them going to the national championship, there's no way. It's just so hard to repeat in college basketball, especially March Madness. Tennessee at number 5, Arizona 6, there's Alabama. Bama with a pretty bad defense, at least in comparison, the number 63rd defense, the number 2 offense. Iowa State at number 8, North Carolina a little bit lower in terms of the analytics at number 9. BYU coming in at number 10. That's very respectable. Illinois, Wisconsin, MSU, Michigan State at 12 and 8 coming in at number 13 in terms of the analytics. They love Michigan State. Yeah, Michigan State's had some unfortunate losses for sure. St. Mary's and then Marquette rounding out the top 15. Moving on down, you do have New Mexico. Very impressive ranking for New Mexico out of the Mountain West, the number 16 teams in terms of these analytics. Kansas State, Creighton, St. John's, and Dayton. How about St. John's at 13 and 7? They must have had some dominant wins recently. The analytics always favor dominant wins. You do have Baylor at 21, Kentucky. Yeah, their defense. I'm surprised Kentucky's offense is at number 10. It's got to be because they play at an insane pace. I mean, they're always scoring 90 points. Their defense is 88th. I mean, Baylor's defense is 85th. Wow. Duke at 23. I think Duke could go on a deep run. They've just got an incredibly talented roster that's really balanced with experience. This is not a typical Duke team. SMU at number 24 at 13 and 7. Wow. And then Mississippi State rounding out the top 25 with Texas Tech on the outside looking in. That's crazy. Texas Tech in the Big 12, 5-1 record so far, but the analytics don't really love them. So that tells me that Texas Tech is kind of a fraud and they're probably due for a big-time losing streak. San Diego State, Florida. Yeah, Florida has a really good offense. Colorado, and then Indiana State. They're a team that's got a really good offense. I'm going to be watching them in terms of possibly going on kind of a Cinderella, although they could be like a top 6 or a top 7 seed. If they win their conference, certainly expect that very dangerous team. Very dangerous. I could see some type of Cinderella Elite 8 run from them. And then here is an updated bracket. You can see we still do have a consensus top 4 seeds, all the number 1 seeds. It is North Carolina, Purdue, Houston, and UConn, with North Carolina being the number 4 overall team, so they would be going out west as the 4th 1 seed, but just some of the other matchups there. You've got a 4v13 game, Baylor taking on Akron, Utah State, and McNeese. The 5v12 games are always tough to pick, aren't they? San Diego State and Richmond. I think San Diego State would win that. Florida Atlantic, UC Irvine. Wow, UC Irvine having a nice year. And then Duke and Grand Canyon. Remember when Duke faced Oral Roberts and people thought Oral Roberts was going to win? I mean, it was like a massive blowout. It started out like 17-0. But looking at the 2v15 games, Wisconsin taking on Eastern Washington. I'd probably pick Wisconsin to win that game, honestly. Kansas taking on Oakland, Tennessee, Colgate, Arizona, High Point. There's just no way High Point is going to beat a 2 seed. I'm sorry. But then taking a look at 6v11 games, BYU, Ole Miss, Texas Tech, Memphis. Memphis would win that game outright. Illinois taking on Washington State or Providence. Illinois would beat either one of those teams. Colorado taking on Texas or Seton Hall. I could see Colorado losing to those teams. How about Dayton as a 3 seed in this bracket, taking on Louisiana Tech, Iowa State, and Drexel, Marquette and Vermont, Creighton and Morehead State. And then the 8v9 game, South Carolina, Colorado State. I think everyone would pick Colorado State in that matchup. Utah, Mississippi State. I'd probably say Utah. But Utah's another team that can't win on the road. St. John's, Michigan State. That's a tough one, man, because St. John's is loved analytically. So is Michigan State. Those are like 2 top 20 teams in terms of analytics. And then Northwestern taking on TCU. Northwestern does tend to do decent in the tournament. Like, they've won a few games recently. So, yeah, those are some fun matchups. We'll have to see. But maybe I'll do an update like this every Monday. And the Bracketology updates, like my 3.0, it's probably, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I guess it just depends on what I feel like. You know, maybe there'll be one a week. Maybe it'll be once every 2 weeks going through February. It'll probably be once a week, though. I don't know. Either way, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Links to that's always in the description.